Good morning, Sully.
What's happening, boss?
Hey, man. You know, I don't know if I'm recovering from last night or if I'm getting ready for Sunday's state semifinals and finals. I'm not really sure which one I'm doing right now, but I'm doing one of them.
Exciting weekend for you, man. Wrestling's starting to really heat up as we get into mid-February. This is really the time when we turn our attention to the mats, and some outstanding matches last night. I was out at Holy Spirit as they took home their second straight sectional with a win over Donovan Catholic. You were out at probably the best matchup of the night, Collingswood and Haddonfield. Collingswood 28-27. Tell us about that match.
Well, you know, the score indicates it was very close, but to me, it really wasn't as close as it showed. I will say Collingswood forfeited the last two weight classes, so they knew they were going to win, obviously, at that point. The difference last night was I felt it was Collingswood's strength. Haddonfield had trouble getting out from bottom. Collingswood had some tight wins in some key spots. Collingswood is a team that their kids are really dedicated to the weight room. And there's tough kids, and they're very strong. And that showed last night, I felt. It was closer than the first time the teams met, when Collingswood won by, I think, close to 30. But Collingswood's a team that, when you look at them a couple weeks ago, in a way they were kind of leaking oil. They started out so strong, and there were some things that just didn't quite kick their way. It really started all the Jack Welch duels in Moorestown. They lost to EHT there in a good meet. And then, I don't want to say they stumbled, but something just wasn't clicking after that. And now they've got their full lineup back, and that came to fruition last night with a win, and it was good to see that for them. On the other side, Haddonfield brings a lot back next year. They have a wonderful guy in the middleweights there, Mr. Chris Valentino, who should be able to compete to get back to states for a second consecutive season. So there was a lot to like last night. Colonial Conference showdown, very interesting.
A couple other great matches too. Hamilton with a crazy rally came up a little bit short against Kingsway. They were down 30-0, cut it to 30-28 going into the final bout.
Yeah, and I don't think you can say enough about what Hamilton did this year. Before the season, I don't know that we had them on our radar. They certainly went out and impressed. And Anthony Roman is a lower weight. I spoke with him a few weeks ago, and he was, he was just really on the up and up about this team. He said that they were coming along, everything was going great, and they don't have a ton of superstars, but they got kids that obviously thrived in the dual meet situation. And Kingsway is another team where, this team is obviously going to wrestle against Phillipsburg on Sunday in the Group 4 semifinal. But next year, like Haddonfield, I would expect Kingsway to be extremely strong. They got some kids popping up from the middle school next year, and they're going to have Quinn Kinder and Cheney Kinder back, and Mackenzie Bell. They should be very talented. So that's another team to keep your eye on for next year. But, certainly keep your eye on them Sunday as well, even though Phillipsburg is not an easy test for anybody, as the state history has shown.
A couple teams, Mark, that have gotten used to winning sectional titles. St. Augustine Prep won their fourth in a row. Delsey, I believe, 7 in a row. These are teams you expect to be wrestling well this time of year.
Yeah, they do. And this is not the case for St. Augustine, but I will say this for Delsey. Paulsboro, who obviously, they're always on some type of streak. And even Collingswood winning back-to-back. I don't know, maybe the state just felt that they knew these teams would win because they sent trophies that had last year's dates on them out to each of the schools last night. So the NJSIAA is going to they said that they're going to adjust, or I heard they said they're going to adjust these trophies because they were all wrong last night. Imagine it. I don't know. I can't imagine it.
Talk with Mark Trible, the Courier-Post, getting some updates on some wrestling. Mark, looking ahead to tomorrow, what's on your radar for the state semis?
Oh, Sully, everything's on my radar. Anything that involves South Jersey, that is. It will be interesting to see Paulsboro. I believe they're wrestling Cedar Grove, and that is not who they expected to see there. Many expected Bound Brook to be there. Bound Brook obviously star-studded in some places, and in other places, no one to wrestle. They lost last night to Cedar Grove. Paulsboro is undefeated, and could see Kittatinny in the championship. Delsey. How about Delsey? Let's take a look at them. Delsey's getting the band back together. A couple kids, you look at Brad Dubzansky, Jake Hollowell, a couple kids who Dubzansky because of baseball. I believe Hollowell's a stellar track athlete. Guys who weren't out for the team throughout the season, but were on the roster, and the door was open to come back. They're back. They're back, and they're back with a vengeance. So now it's starting to look like the Delsey team that at the end of last year we expected we'd see, which would, in my opinion, would have been a top 5 team in the state. And now they go into there, they got Cranford in the semifinals. And then if they were to win that, likely South Plainfield in the finals. And these are two stellar teams who've been really great all year. And now Delsey could spoil the party with their full group, which would be quite interesting if that happens.
Quick shout out to my old hometown, Cedar Grove.
Hey, how about that? Sully? every time I bring up some school or some town, Cedar Grove, Lacey, there's a connection to Sully. You really are the all-American man.
I was born up there in Cedar Grove.
You're everywhere.
Yep.
And you've got, I envision myself getting lost in the swamps of Jersey, pulled over, hand in head, and or head in hands, and I look over, and there's some type of sign next to the road that signifies this is where David Sullivan did something.
Probably not all good signs, though.
No, maybe not. Maybe not. But we'll find out when I get lost there.
Yeah, spent a couple formative years up there in Cedar Grove.
Good for you, man. I've never been to Cedar Grove. I don't know if I should shamefully or proudly admit that, but I've never been there. That's
a nice little town tucked up there in the hills of North Jersey.
It's got the name of a town that would be great, and it sounds like something that's not even a real place. It sounds like something that came from a television show, maybe one of these. Maybe that's where Superman grew up, or what was that, Pleasantville? Oh, well, there's one of those too, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, very interesting. But we'll see what they do. Obviously, they have to have a very, very good team at this point, to be at this point. Paulsboro's been on a mission. They're always on a mission. So it'll be interesting. I think Spirit and St. Augustine and the parochial championships, it will not be as close. My hat's off to both of them for getting back there, especially Ralph Pallone Spirit for the second consecutive season after having never been there before last year, I believe.
Yeah, it's nuts. I mean, a couple of years ago, they couldn't even fill out a team. They had like 6-7 guys in a room.
No, and you know what's refreshing to me about Ralph Pallone is that Ralph will he calls out a season. And I think the kids, it seems like they respond to that honesty. I once heard a phrase, honesty without compassion is brutality. Well, Ralph uses honesty with compassion. And it's very clear. It's very clear he has a connection to his kids, and he's got a heck of a voice, great voice. And the guy he's a guy that kids would want to wrestle for, right?
Oh, no doubt, yeah.
Yeah, he's very
I want to wrestle for him.
Well, you know what? They might need you on Sunday. I think we might be able to arrange that. So.
I don't know if I can make weight by Sunday.
Well, we won't talk about which weight you go at. But, no, but yeah, certainly kudos to him, and he is a motivator, absolutely.
Good stuff, Mark. As always, get yourself together next couple of weeks, man. We're going to be hitting it big time on the mats.
Yeah, it's going to be.
It's like a 3-week blitz coming up for wrestling.
it started this week. It's going to go 3 more weeks. This is the best time of the year to be involved with New Jersey State Wrestling. And I can't wait, Sully. And I can't wait to see you at Boardwalk Hall here in a few weeks, man. It's going to be a blast.
Awesome, man. Good stuff. Get some rest today, man. You got a long day tomorrow.
Hey, you got it, Sully. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Mark. That was Mark Trible of the Courier-Post.